Hey, ladies and gents, this is an episode of my trucker vlog. This is just sort of a response I have to a lot of feedback I've been getting. I haven't really gotten this kind of feedback much over YouTube, but over Facebook and forums and interacting with other truckers and just interacting with people in general in the United States when they find out about my plans to immigrate to Argentina, where basically I want to use the trucking trade. The whole reason I'm in the trucking trade in the first place is to save up under 50K because I want to immigrate to Argentina, specifically Cordoba, because I've been spending, most of my life trying to, settle down, get married, buy a house, build a family. That's always been my thing. And, but I just could not do that here in the U.S. And it's because, it's 50% chance of divorce, 60% chance of being cheated on. 80% of divorces are filed by women, jumps up to 90% if they're college educated, because the American education system isn't an education system, it's a propaganda system, and women are taught from a very early age to see guys as nothing but things to be used. And I'm not knocking on women who live in the United States, but that is how it is from the perspective of a guy in the United States. And that's why more and more guys are becoming passport bros. And before you make assumptions, so this video is just sort of to address a lot of false assumptions people have about folks like me, because I'm not the only one in this boat. I'm not the only one who's slowly preparing to become a passport bro and stuff. And so I wanted to basically respond to all that in a mature manner, especially to a common accusation that I get from a lot of people. And ironically, it's usually guys that are older than me, is accusing me of using up this country and then splitting and going somewhere else. And well, here's the thing, is that a lot of people think I hate America. I don't like the direction it's going, but the United States is my home, and I'm thankful to have been born in a free country. And the older I get, the less freedoms exist because of more regulations out there. But it's still a free country. And no, I don't hate America. As a matter of fact, I think that the story behind how the United States Constitution and the Bill of Rights was created, and the necessity that bred the innovation of the United States Constitution and the Bill of Rights, is the most inspiring story ever. And I think it's very inspiring on how the United States, over its short time as a country, has really influenced politics around the world, and has influenced other countries to adopt similar policies, similar freedom, etc. And Argentina is just one example of that, because Argentina used to be a dictatorship and now it's a free country. And they even have their own equivalent of a Second Amendment down there. It's probably why they're one of the Latin American countries that doesn't have a cartel, but that's just my opinion. Well, it's one of the Latin American countries that doesn't have a cartel problem. That's what I mean. That's what I meant to say. But no, absolutely not. And also, I don't think I'm betraying America, and I don't think I'm using America. But even if it was, it'd be like what, as opposed to how the United States government has been using me and using my tax dollars to fund endless wars. But that's a whole other argument. But no, I have a very, very different worldview than a lot of people have. See, I grew up with the worldview that most Americans have, of thinking that America is the greatest country on earth, and that there's no way that I would ever imagine living in another country, etc. But my worldview has greatly changed over the years, and I no longer see America as like the greatest country on earth. I see it as a country on earth, a great country on the earth, but it's just one of many countries out there. The world's so much bigger than the United States. And one of the benefits of being part of the human species on Earth is that we have so many different countries, so many different cultures, so many different ways of looking at everything, that not every country and culture makes the exact same mistakes at the exact same time. I mean, there's countries right now that are discovering why it's a good idea to be a country that's of, by, and for the people. And you got other countries out there that are going through the process of learning the hard way why socialism and communism is a bad idea. And there's there's so many different directions different cultures are going at the same time. That's just part of being human. That's part of what it's like to be on Earth. And yeah, sure, I don't like the direction things are going in the U.S., especially when it comes to family values, and how that 9 out of 10 people that I meet all over the United States are in the exact same boat as I am, which is 2 to 3 generations of kids growing up in broken homes, where it's been so many generations for so many people out there in their family for there to not be a broken home, that a non-broken home, a traditional home, is the idea is distorted, and people immediately think of like women being oppressed or some other form of dysfunction because they don't know what a normal home looks like. I didn't even know until I lived in Mexico for almost a year, and I saw real families for the first time in my life that were like consistently real families. Like, to this day, I'm 40 years old. To this day, I can barely count on 2 hands on how many married couples I've met that have been married for more than 20 years and are still happily married, still have a stable marriage, and have successfully raised their kids in a home that's not a broken home or a dysfunctional home. Those kids have been successfully raised to become contributing members of society. I could barely count on my 2 hands, and I've drifted all over the U.S. even before I was a trucker. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't more than 10 families out there in the U.S. It's just that from my personal experience, that's what I've observed. But in the 10 months I lived in Mexico, I lost count of how many of those types of families that I met. There were in the neighborhood alone. There were just on the city block alone and where I lived. We're talking about households with 2 to 3 generations in there. And, there's a lot of people that argue against that and say, oh, they're like that because of economic reasons, blah, blah, blah. No, you don't get it. Like, Mexico's never really developed the infrastructure of like nursing homes and retirement homes like the U.S. has, but it's not because they can't do it. It's because that's a very alien way of thinking in their culture. In their culture, you respect your elders, you take care of your elders, family's everything. And that's the reason why you see 2 to 3 generations a lot of times in a traditional Mexican household. And it's not just a Mexican thing. That's very common in a lot of countries around the world. It's us Americans who are weird, who kick kids out as soon as they're legally old enough for you to kick them out and not be charged for child abandonment. And it's that's how it is. But yeah, so that's one of the reasons. But yeah, so I don't. But as far as the whole, but here's the thing. Even though our culture has been heading in that direction for a very long time, doesn't mean that other cultures are heading that way. So I realized, hey, if I want to settle down, get married, and have kids, but I don't want to, I don't want to get cheated on, divorced, and have my shit lost in the divorce and lose my kids in the divorce. Yeah, sure, that could happen to you in any country. There's cheaters in every country. But if you try to focus on being the best person that you can be, and then you try to find someone else who's also equally dedicated to want to raise a family, trying to find someone like that in the U.S. is like trying to look for a needle in a haystack. So all I'm doing is that I'm just going to another haystack that's got more needles. And as far as the thing where a lot of people think that I'm like betraying America, whatever, first of all, I don't really care what other people think of me. So I'm only really uploading this video for education purposes, because I have a very different worldview. I used to have that same worldview a long time ago. USA number one. If you leave here to go live somewhere else, you're a traitor, blah, blah, blah. I used to have that worldview. But several years ago, I downloaded a free app on my phone called ISS Live. ISS stands for International Space Station. This app gave me the ability to track exactly where the International Space Station is over the surface of the Earth at any given time, and it also gave me access to a free live webcam that's on the International Space Station, so that I could just tune into this app anytime I want and literally watch Earth from orbit from a webcam at the International Space Station. And I've done that for several years now. For years, I would just sit down and do that, and it experiencing watching Earth from orbit on a regular basis, even if it's just through a live web feed, it'll change you, and it's changed me. And I no longer see the USA as my home. I see Earth as my home, and so I don't see it as me betraying, using up America. It's me saving up a bunch of money in one part of my home, which is Earth, and then going and living in a more affordable, less violent part of my home, which is in Cordoba, Argentina. And I'll give you an example of how less violent it is in Cordoba. In Cordoba, I can go to college there, where I plan on finishing my education in math, engineering, and physics. And in that country, education is free. And I was originally introduced to that concept because I met a dude who, over Discord, which is sort of like a social media type thing, app, whatever, that a lot of people use to communicate with each other through the gaming community or crypto community or whatever. And I met one dude who's majoring in aerospace engineering or mechanical engineering in Greece, and he told me that his college is free for him. That's normal. And I and then I started telling him how expensive it is to get that kind of education in America. And he's like, man, you guys are crazy. No wonder Americans are so uneducated. It's too expensive to get an education there. I was like, yeah, I agree. And it made me, as I was studying Spanish, it made me wonder, hey, where can I go to college for free in Latin America, if that's a thing there? And that's how I learned about Argentina. And then I started learning more about Argentinian culture, and I realized, you know what, I probably fit right in Argentina, and because Argentina's got those family values too. Now, of course, I mean that in the context of, you know, stay away from Buenos Aires. You know, I'm going to go to Cordoba, which is a much smaller city, but there people have sort of a healthy blend of like old-fashioned family values and modern values, which is great because that means that, you know, I don't have to become a straight-up Catholic in order to get a, you know, woman with some morals and sanity, you know, like I would in like maybe a place like Paraguay, but yeah, which is great because I have a mixture of old-fashioned values and modern values, and so it's just, and to give you an example of how less violent it is that Argentina doesn't have a cartel problem, and they're a very well-developed country, but what's cool is that when you go to college in Argentina, you don't have to worry about mass shootings. I don't have to worry about a woman like randomly accusing me of rape after I have a one night stand. I don't have to worry about that stuff, you know, and I don't have to worry about being discriminated for being a white guy in school, which, you know, I've actually attended a few different colleges just to take a class here and there in the U.S., and yeah, the discrimination is real against single white heterosexual males in college. And but there, let me tell you something. In most Latin American countries and a lot of countries around the world, a lot of people don't give a crap what you look like, where you come from. Just as long as you're respectful towards them and their culture, and you learn the language, they accept you. And that's how a lot of Latin Americans are. And you know, they don't care. If you're respectful and honorable, they will treat you accordingly. And which was something I never really experienced in the U.S. I've always been a square peg trying to fit in a round hole here in the U.S. I've never fit in anywhere, and I've always been an outcast here. But when I was in Mexico, the whole neighborhood accepted me. I mean, but that's, of course, that was in the context that I was someone who was respectful and honorable towards people. Here in the U.S., if you're a nice guy, you know, we have a saying in the U.S., nice guys finish last. And you got to be killer to get ahead. It's not like that everywhere in the world. And a lot of places out in the world, you can act respectfully, act civilized, act honorably, and you will be honored in return. So just because our culture has lost its sanity in the United States doesn't mean that other cultures have. And if you look at a much broader historical context of the United States, this isn't the first time the United States has gone through a huge decline in morality. One of the last times was the Roaring '20s. It got so bad out of hand, people got sick and tired of no morals, that all of a sudden people were super conservative again in the 40s, and they got into the extreme of in the 40s. And then when the 60s rolled around, it was another cycle of decline in in morality. And then there was a little bit return to normalcy in the 80s, and then now we're going through that cycle again. So I won't be surprised if maybe 30 years from now, a lot of people in America will be really super conservative again, and you won't be discriminated against for having morals and trying to behave honorably. And that's just human. It's not like the world's going to end or anything. I mean, it's just, this is a very human thing for cultures to go through those kinds of cycles. Now, so I'm just hanging out in another part of my home, which is planet Earth, where they're going through a cycle where they have a healthy blend of being conservative, but also being a little bit more modern. And so I think that it's healthy to be in a more balanced culture. And I want my kids to grow up in a more balanced culture. And who knows what Argentina will be like 20 years from now when my kids are grown up. But when my kids are grown up, and if they don't like the way Argentina is going, well, then they can just do what I did. I mean, and this isn't the first time this has happened in my history, my family. My family, one half of my family originally immigrated about around 4 generations ago to the United States from the British Isles, and the other half of my family immigrated about 4 generations ago to the United States from West Germany. And they did that because they wanted future generations to have a better life. And but so me just going to Argentina from the U.S., this is just my family's history repeating itself, and this is very normal. People, it's very normal for people to travel the world and to move to other countries. But yeah, so I just wanted to put this kind of video out there because yes, I love America, and I'm grateful for the freedoms that I've experienced here, but that I'm under no obligation to stay here and live here because I have personal freedom. And if I feel that I have more freedom to pursue the things I want to pursue in life, which is family, then yeah, absolutely. And of course, yeah, I'm not a delusional passport bro. I mean, I'm trying to work hard to lose weight and everything, though, and I'm not trying to find some supermodel chick, just someone who's compatible. I mean, I'm a dude. It doesn't take as much to please a guy as it does to please a woman. And that's not sexist, that's just facts. I mean, I would rather be married and build a family with a woman who's got mediocre looks than someone who looks like a supermodel is going to cheat on me, divorce me, take off my shit. And a lot of guys feel that way. And but yeah, but anyway, so yeah, that's what it is. And I'm going to tell you something. Not all passport bros are sex tourists. And I want to break down to you the whole passport bro thing. I consider passport bros to be divided into 3 basic categories. You got what I call the STD passport bros, you got the Vin Diesel passport bros, and then you got the never coming back Vin Diesel passport bros. So let me break this down. The STD passport bros, they're the ones that give passport bros a bad name. They're the ones that are delusional and criticize women for basically having a high body count, and they're the red pillars and all that stuff. And then they go to other countries and they realize, hey, it's easier to get laid in other countries. And then they go and they live the exact same sexual lifestyle that they criticize women for living. I call them STD passport bros because going around sleeping with a bunch of strangers, it increases your probability of getting an STD. But if you're traveling the world and sleeping with a bunch of different strangers all around the world, you're just begging for an STD. So that's why I call them STD passport bros. Now, the Vin Diesel passport bros, they're the kind of folks that will travel abroad and they'll meet a good woman and then they'll bring them back to the U.S. And there's a 50-50 chance of whether or not that actually works out. Like, I actually know one guy where that actually worked out, where he was he served in the United States Navy for a while, and then he served in the United States Coast Guard for a while. And in my opinion, sailors are the original passport bros. But so by the time he retired from the U.S. service, he was a retired lieutenant commander in the United States Coast Guard. And when he was serving in the Navy, the United States Navy, he met his wife who in the Philippines when he was, I guess, when his whatever boat he was assigned, whatever ship he was assigned to was in the Philippines. He met his wife in the Philippines, and she was a very good woman, very traditional woman, and he ended up marrying her instead of an American woman for the same reasons I'm going to Argentina. And yeah, and he brought her back to the U.S. and he built a good family with her, and the dude's got like, I don't know, 20 grandkids now or something. He's got a huge family, and you know, it worked out great. But then sometimes a guy will bring a good woman like that back to the United States, and then she just gets ruined by American culture, and then she ends up doing to him what an American woman would do to him, which shit on him, divorce him, take half his shit. And so it's a 50-50 chance that will work. It kind of reminds me how that in my experience, 9 out of 10 Latin Americans that I've interacted with throughout my life have been cool. My best friends growing up were all Mexican, and the only time that any Hispanics have ever given me shit for being white are the ones that have been ruined by American culture and been taught to hate by American culture. But even then, it's rare for me to ever meet Hispanic like that. Most Hispanics, you know, they don't give a crap who you are. They'll party with you just the same. And yeah, that's just how it is. But now, I call those like the sailor that I told you about. He's what I call a Vin Diesel passport bro. I say that because, Vin Diesel has been known to act in a lot of movies that promotes family, and so much that he's been memed to death. So it's a reference to that meme. But then there's what I call never coming back Vin Diesel passport bros, where they'll do what I'm planning to do, which is travel abroad, live abroad, meet someone in another culture, but build their family in that culture because they want to grow their kids up in the very culture that raised the good woman that they met, and they'll assimilate, learn the language, etc. And that I call that a never coming back Vin Diesel passport bro, and that I fit into category number 3. So human beings are so complex, it's really hard to put any group of human beings into a box. The best you can do is use a Kinsey scale and put them on a spectrum. So I use a Kinsey scale with passport bros. If you use a Kinsey scale with a passport bros, the whole passport bro thing will make a lot more sense to you. So when you see someone make a video about being passport bro, you got to ask yourself the question, consider the context. What kind of passport bro are they? Are they an STD passport bro? Are they Vin Diesel passport bro? Or are they a never coming back Vin Diesel passport bro? And now there are a lot of people out there that move abroad and live somewhere else, and they end up being really bitter about the United States. I'm not that kind of person. I've survived so much horrifying, violent shit growing up that I've learned from an early age to not be consumed with hate or anger or bitterness. It only serves to destroy yourself. And I'm just grateful to be alive. I'm grateful that I managed to become the first guy in 3 generations of my family to never do drugs, never go to jail, never even get a speeding ticket. And because of that, I have the freedom to pursue my dreams and get a good job, etc. I'm grateful to make this far. I'm not bragging, I'm not beating my chest. I just want to continue to move forward in my life. And also, I want to do it in a way to where I set a good example for my future kids. Yeah, sure, I'll be building a family really late in my life, but there's a lot of people that do that. And, but yeah, it's just, that's how it is for me. I'm on a mission to break my family curse. I want my kids, my future kids, to be the first kids in at least 3 generations of my family where they don't grow up in a broken, dysfunctional home. And I personally believe I have to move to a country that's got more morals and more sanity to accomplish that. Because, like I said, in the U.S., just look it up. 50% chance of divorce, 60% chance of being cheated on, which means 60% chance of getting divorced for me, because I would never forgive that kind of betrayal. So I'm not going to jump out of an airplane with a parachute that only works 40% of the time. So it's not a guaranteed success that going to a country like Argentina will be it's not a 100% chance of success. All I'm doing is increasing my probability of success of meeting a woman that's worth building a family with. And and I'm 40 years old, and the older you get, the less you care about looks, the more you care about compatibility. And yeah, so anyway, I hope this I guess debunks a lot of things that maybe folks are thinking about me. I ain't no delusional passport bro. I haven't even earned the right to call myself a passport bro, and I would never call myself an expat. I never understand why people, that's because that stands for expatriate. And the thing is that I will always be a patriot of the United States. But more importantly, due to me watching Earth from orbit on a regular basis for almost a decade now, possibly, I'm a patriot of the human race. I don't stand with Ukraine. I don't stand with China. I don't stand with Russia. I stand with the human race, and and I wish the best for every country out there. And it is entirely possible to love more than one country. I'm just saying. I'm under no obligation to be loyal to just one country. I feel that I'm under the obligation as a human being to be loyal to the human species, but I have a completely different worldview than a lot of folks. But thankfully, I'm really grateful, though, that thanks to the internet bringing people together around the world, and that more and more people are starting to have a more global mentality when it comes to seeing humanity from the correct perspective. And I highly encourage you to download the ISS Live app. It's not as dependable as it used to be, but I encourage you to watch Earth from orbit for a regular basis. It's on a regular basis. It's hard to say. And if you do that, it'll change the way you look at things, and you'll begin to see just how ridiculous endless wars are. And the whole thing in Ukraine and Iran, I mourn the deaths of all the sides, because we need to find better ways to solve our problems. And some people choose to have faith in God. I choose to have faith in humanity's potential. I believe that one day that we can grow out of our infancy. And but that's just me. I would just rather put faith in that than anywhere else. But anyway, enough of this rant. Y'all have a good one, and I'll see you in the next episode.